lots of help as we navigate this for our students. So I can't recommend that a lot enough. We'll be talking lots through junior high. This guy's coming in to speak to a parent group, or this woman's coming in to speak to our students. And we really, really advocate to his families just to jump into it and take advantage of it as much as you can. Usually it'll be recorded and posted somewhere. Obviously we have issues with that.
In theory, yeah. Can't recommend Matt Ullman enough. Awesome resource. We've just been really blessed by what he's brought here, and just the wisdom he shared to teachers and to parents as well. So as we talk about, students growing in body, mind, and soul, some of the things that we do to emphasize the soul or emphasize the spirit, every morning students have homeroom devotions, and so they still meet in their homerooms for the first 10 to 15 minutes of the day, and their homeroom teacher will lead them in a devotion. So some mornings it might be a time of worship, some mornings it might be prayer time as a group, other times it's reading from a devotional book. And so it's neat to see. I love walking around during that time of day and seeing each unique teacher and what they bring, and really their opportunity to share their walk with the Lord with the students. We also have Bible classes. So in a 6-day schedule, students will have 2 Bible classes throughout that 6-day rotation. And our goal, again, we were just in a meeting this afternoon talking with our Biblical Framework Committee about how can we just be more intentional of having students digging into the Word, understanding God's Word, and being taught it at a young age and coming up through. So we've got some really strategic ways that we're emphasizing getting through the stories of the Bible, getting through the themes in the Bible, and really encouraging students to grab a hold of that and to see it as God's truth. Along with that, we do chapels. And so every couple of weeks we have a chapel here in the theater. It's been amazing finally this year being able to meet again as a whole junior high in the theater. We had them remote for a little while where we were streaming them into classrooms, and we did our best. We did what we could, but it's just not the same as gathering together and worshiping and hearing God's word. And so oftentimes teachers will speak at those chapels, or it'll be Pastor Dave or Pastor Brooklyn sharing. And so again, just lots of variety that we get, similar to what you would see in elementary, but with a little bit of a junior high kind of flair to it. Rev Week is the equivalent of Seed Week in elementary. So if the kids were talking about Seed Week, we do something similar. So Rev, we talk about revelation, we talk about getting revved up, we talk about revival, and so it's all of those rev words is what we're hoping to infuse. And there's certain, as much as we want to do that year round, there's certain times where you can, I think, bring an emphasis to it and encourage experiences for our students that can leave a lasting impact. And that's our hope at Rev Week, as we bring speakers in and as we encourage just an intentional emphasis on the things of the Spirit, which again, we want to be reminded to be always thinking that way, but it's helpful to have that emphasis week. We're bringing back small groups again, and so again, it's another with COVID. Something that we had put on hold for a little while, but small groups are groups of students from all across grade 6, 7, 8, and 9. And so there will be a few students from grade 6, some from grade 7, some from 8, some from 9 in a small group, and they'll meet during the devotion time in the morning with their small group leader. And the neat thing is, from grade 6, they'll stay with that small group all the way up through to grade 9. And so obviously the grade 9 students move on and a new group of grade 6 students come in the next year. But the teacher stays the same, or their small group leader stays the same, and they have a chance to just grow in a different dynamic, a different kind of community. And it's really neat to see some of the cross-grade friendship. You see kids see their small group members in the hallway. So you see a grade 9 student giving a grade 6 student a high five in the hall, right? Because they see each other in these groups. And so that's one of the ways that we're really wanting to build that unity and just build that cross-grade friendships and relationships. Retreats are just a huge part of what we do in the junior high. And so we have a big emphasis on retreats. The grade 6 will go on their retreat in the fall, I believe. Do we? Yeah, September. That's right. Yeah, more to come. But we just find that the retreats themselves are such a, again, it's a way of stepping out of our comfort zone. That's a big part of junior high is moving into that dynamic of, oh, this might be a brand new experience for some students to go stay overnight at a camp and to be away from mom and dad and to be away from maybe their normal home environment. And even I know some parents too go, oh, that's a new experience for us too, having our child away. But we just see so much good that can happen at these retreats as students are exposed to something new, as they're challenged. I know for myself, I'm a camp guy. I won't talk all night about it, but I could. I grew up going to Circle Square Ranch, and it was some of the best years of my life working there, and first as a camper and then as staff working there, and just the unique environment that you get at camp. I'll stop talking about it, but it's awesome. We love our retreats. And then obviously just a huge emphasis on mentorship, that as teachers come in, they know teaching is a part of the job. And mentorship is a huge part of what we do, of just building, whether it's through homeroom devotions, and because some students, it's the one teacher they connect with on that level. And we just encourage our teachers to be trained to watch out for those things, and to build those intentional relationships.
So as you, we do this all throughout the school. We wrap all of this soul food up in a theme each year that we unpack on the retreats and in chapels and dig into it, even in our scripture memory. So we're sharing a kind of a sneak peek. I don't know if you knew I was sharing this, Pastor Dave, but our theme for next year in our spiritual pursuit will be on the rock. And based on Matthew 7:24, as we follow up from Sermon on the Mount, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And that's what we'll be unpacking next year in all of these endeavors to feed the soul. Ms. Kim, tell us a little bit about friendships in junior high.
Yeah, I think grade 6 is such a it's such a fun and interesting year, just because of the immense amount of growth that happens in just such a short period of time. So in September, students will come, they're still in like the elementary mindset. And then as the year goes on, you just see this, this development and this growth and all this change that happens, that, by the end of the year, 10 months later, it's such a short period of time, but they're ready for junior high and for teenagehood. And of course, with that, there's tons of change that happens within the year. Friendship changes, not always necessarily for the worse. There are friendships that develop and blossom all the time, even across grades. But I think one of the things that we really do pride ourselves in is the fact that GCA is a place where everybody belongs. And because it's a Christian school, I think there's a lot of power in unity and the fact that we can call ourselves brothers and sisters in Christ. And so even if friendships change, and we may not all be friends, but there are always opportunities to show God's love to each other. And we just encourage, all of our students to show respect and integrity and, just grow in character on a daily basis. So there's, Mr. Dawson talked a little bit about our support teams. There are homeroom teachers that, of course, our students can come and talk to, the pastoral team. There's so many resources out there that, if they're going through hard times, there's always somebody that they can lean on for extra support. Yeah, I think the bottom line just kind of says it all. So we don't expect everyone to be friends, but what we do expect is that everybody treats each other with respect and kindness. GCA is a place where everybody belongs, and I truly believe in that statement.
Yeah, we'll breeze through this next one because I already got talking about it a little bit. So the small groups, again, once a week during the Devo time, they'll meet in these groups with students from grade 6 to 9. And we do kind of train our grade 9 leaders to start leading those groups as we go as well. And so again, great time of connection between the grades for the students.
Mr. Tennant.
Hi. Resiliency. When I think of resiliency, I think of the idea of meeting challenges, and probably more importantly, getting up when you get knocked down. And that's a skill we all need. It's becoming a bit of a buzzword, but that doesn't devalue the importance of it. So, I mean, we mentioned this a little bit. We're not really trying to bring up children. We're trying to bring them up to be adults. We only get them until grade 9, but we kind of have an idea of what the world is like out there and what high schools are like out there. And I think everyone can agree that if you could wave a magic wand and make your children resilient, everybody would. The problem is it's kind of painful to develop it, and you have to do it in small ways. So I think this is becoming a new focus for us as we progress as a school. But that just this whole idea that in small, safe ways, we want the children to develop this idea that if something goes wrong, they'll be okay. They'll be okay. What do you do? What's the next step? And that's one of the sort of themes that I think is going to be running through our school for quite a time. It's a challenging world. It's a challenging world, and we're trying to make our kids ready to meet those challenges.
Yeah, I don't really know much to say about this slide, but yeah, we have 2 awesome supports. I think Mr. Kennedy kind of touched on this earlier, but Mrs. Kayla Pallister and Mr. Dalen Traber, they're our counseling team. Super awesome team. They're really, really relatable. So, when students when they're having a hard time, oftentimes we refer them to the counselor to have individual sessions with them. But oftentimes I just see kids in their office all the time because they just love hanging out there. So yeah, super easy to talk to. And like if students need extra support or just somebody to talk to, 2 awesome resources.
Yeah. So MTO hours, this is another thing that's new for junior high, well, for students coming into junior high that we don't do in elementary. And it's going to look just slightly different if you've had kids who have come through already through the junior high or who are doing this. We're making some tweaks to the MTO hours, but it looks pretty similar. And so there will be some information that comes out about that soon. And so 3 hours every term is what we're looking for. And so MTO stands for Ministry to Others. And the goal is to look for, it can be creative ways, it can be sometimes the most basic ways. The goal is to that serve through love. That's part of our mission statement, is to try to put hands and feet to that. And so to encourage students to say, you can spend 3 hours each term for a total of 9 hours by the time we're done the year. 3 hours, maybe it's volunteering. Maybe I know some have had opportunities, maybe when they're a little older at the mustard seed, but it can even be things like making some food. Maybe there's a family in church who's in need, and the student will make a meal for them. There's all kind, or maybe it's raking leaves for an elderly neighbor next door. And so some of the things that we ask is obviously no payment for it. So it has to be volunteer time. And there's kind of a list of things that we give out as we go to give some good ideas on that. Previously, we've been able to do, we had it where service hours during the summer counted towards this. And so some students will go out and do 10 hours in the summer and be done for the year. We're trying to change that now. So we're asking that students actually complete them during the term. So during each part of the school year. So again, 3, 3, and 3. And previously, we also had said, only do part of this in your local church and part of this somewhere else. But we're saying, you know what, we would love to see kids involved in their local church more. So all of those hours, it's fine. If it's something at church where maybe it's helping in the nursery or helping with the sound, like there's lots of opportunities obviously there to be doing ministry to others. We're adding in some personal reflections just to make it a little bit more, to invite students into the process a little bit more. And that's worth 20% of their Bible grade. So we do treat it as a graded part of their report card. Yeah, that's ministry to others.
Awesome. I want to talk just a little bit about logic class. Every schools are always talking about how can we build in critical thinking skills? How can we just build in that ability to think, and to think clearly, and to think critically, and really to think logically. And so, Mr. Nielsen, this is, we've piloted the course this year, and it has been brilliant to watch. So it's now we mentioned this, we said the word 6-day schedule. Junior high, we do a 6-day schedule, and when day 6 is done, let's say today was day 6, tomorrow would be day 1. 2, 3, and then the next Monday would be 4. So we call it a 6-day schedule. It helps us to avoid missing a class on Friday long weekends or Monday long weekends. That's the long and short of it. But in a 6-day schedule, so a week kind of, we have one class that's logic class. And Mr. Nielsen does just an amazing job at introducing even just logic fallacies to the students, but he always has this really engaging real life example. Maybe it's a clip, maybe it's politics, who knows? Maybe it's an ad campaign. And then has the students engaging and looking for recognizing fallacies in other instances. But the beautiful piece about it is how he blends the Word of God and the truth of God and Scripture into this course, into this logic, and also builds in, and he models just a beautiful humility. Sometimes when we have really strong logic skills, that means we have really strong argumentative skills, and we can come across actually more arrogant than humble. And really, it's just about knowing clearly what we think and how to use our minds the way God's given them to us. I'm convinced that as we build strong logic skills, our faith makes more sense to us, and the way we live out our faith makes more sense to us. And so that's one of the reasons that we're doing this. And so ask your kids in grade 6. I know at first it may sound like, oh my goodness, they're going to hate this. They really enjoy it. It's really effective. So I just wanted to introduce that to you and let you know that's happening.
Yeah, so our fine arts, as they come into grade 6, the way we set it up is that every student takes band and art to give them an introduction to music and to band. After that, in grade 7, so right now we're sending these out to our current grade 6s. We send out forms, and they can choose their options between band, art, creative design, and creative design and project management. We call it CDI, if you ever hear that, drama or outdoor ed. And so they have those options starting in grade 7. There's a little bit of info here about instrument selection. And so the grade 5 classes beginning May 24th to June 2nd, that's coming up pretty quick, next week. During those music classes, they're gonna meet to discuss the instrument options. And so they can make their selections. Have you guys heard about this already? Is this something we're familiar with yet? No? Okay, good, I'm glad we're telling you. And so students will make those selections from June 1st to 5th. Through a Google form sent from Mr. G. And so he'll send that out June 1st to 5th, but they'll have that exposure in class. So if there's some say that you guys have in, if you're going, oh, I might have a direction I want to help talk to my child about, now's the opportunity to do that.
Think about the size of instruments.
How many tuba players out there? Yeah, lots of tubas. I always thought that'd be cool, but I don't know. And so those will be made end of the day on June 10th. So that's when it'll be all finalized, obviously. And so obviously there's some give and take there in figuring out who's going to be which instrument. And then the band meeting and instrument rental night will be June 13th, 6 p.m. here in the theater. So mark that day off, June 13th, 6 p.m. Band meeting. And so details will be coming home. Oh, there you go. May 26th. That's why you haven't heard yet, but now you get a little bit of a heads up on that.
I have to give a commercial for band. At the end of grade 6, right, students get to choose other options. And some of them, there's just like, I don't want to do band. You got to practice in band. But students who follow through in band, there is an amazing community that develops in the band class and beautiful skills. We were just doing a formal observation of Mrs. Eklund's band class, and it's a beautiful thing, the grade 9 band class. So encourage your students, if they're kind of, unsure, kind of maybe want to, but not sure, I encourage them to check it out and consider at least sticking with it in grade 7 and then see where they get. Foreign languages, you know a little bit already about that. You should have received a Google form that was shared from Mr. G. I don't have the technology power to send you guys an email, so that everything has to come through Mr. G from us for our communication from junior high to grade 5. And so that students can move from French and select Spanish they so choose. We need those Google Forms. I hope you're listening online. We need those forms filled out this week because it will impact how we load, how the teachers, not us, how the grade 5 teachers load classes. So yeah, French and Spanish, there's 2 classes in a 6-day cycle. That's all I need to say about that. Mr. Tennant.
Foreign languages.
Next one.
I already said this. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, assessment. So there's a few differences in assessment for your kids this year. One of the main ones is we use letter grades in the classes. So it does give them sort of a precise target. So if you have 82, you're shooting for 84 and those kind of things. So I think there's an advantage of that. Another thing that is kind of new is the idea of the honor roll. And particularly with the grade 6s, they get really excited about this. It's the idea if they have 80% in all their subjects, then they'll receive a little certificate that honors that, and we try to honor that. And even at the end of the year, we have little medals and things like that. And honors with distinction, which is the true big thing, is the idea if they have 90% average. So it does put pressure on all of us because the kids are really pushing for these things. But it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat because it's putting the idea of pursuing excellence at the top of everything. And then the final grades are weighted across the 3 terms. The other thing that is going on is they get introduced to the concept of final exams. So even right now, the kids are getting ready for those things. And there's 2 benefits that I see for it. The number one is the idea that if we're talking about bringing your kids up to be successful in the next stage, they will write final exams. And the other one is really, even as a teacher, we don't just leave stuff that we taught in September and never revisit it. It makes us go back over it. So maybe the retention is a little bit better in that way. So over the next few weeks in my math class, we'll be trying to hit the big topics that we did in the previous months. So there's some benefits to it. The kids get excited, the kids get nervous, and that's okay. And they come out the other end and they go, oh, that's all right. And then they're not in so much of a shock when they come to high school or what have you, and they're facing exams. And there's a variety of different awards and things that we hand out at the end of the year. Some of them are relevant to grade 6, and some of them only come into play when they get into the older grades.
I've had the immense privilege in the last 6 years, a crazy idea that I pitched to Mr. G about starting a before school sports program has turned into what we now call our real athletics program. And when I had the opportunity to jump up into junior high 3 years ago, one of the things that myself and Mrs. Allen were talking about is, can we do this in junior high? And obviously my quick answer was yes, absolutely. And in the last 3 years, I mean, COVID has kind of messed up kind of our original vision for our intramural program, but this has been the first year that we've actually been able to run the program the way that we had envisioned from October to now. And we're excited to try this out again, to actually potentially make some changes and some tweaks to make the program even better. But the heart behind our intramural program, if you are involved in grade 5 or maybe not, is I'm a phys ed guy. I live and breathe sports. One of the things that I see an opportunity to do is to better students through sport, teaching them healthy competition, but challenging them to become better human beings as a result of being a part of a team. And so that truly is the vision behind our intramural program. One of the reasons why we really wanted to bring it into grade 6 is because it is a really important transition year, right? They've just graduated from elementary. They've been at the top of the hierarchy in elementary, and now they feel like they've come back to the bottom rung of the ladder in junior high. And they don't have access to the varsity athletics yet. They don't get the options. There's some clubs that are only for the older grades. And so we really wanted to give them something where they could create relationships, be challenged, have opportunities to come to school early, experience being a part of a team, and just having the opportunity to better themselves through sports. And so this is a continuation of the program that exists in elementary, and it's meant to bring out the best in every athlete who decides to join. It has nothing to do with tryouts or being selected for a team. If your child is interested in our intramural program, they sign up, they're put on a team, and they're guaranteed that spot for the season. There is a small fee that is charged each season, just because I'm an ideas guy and I have some crazy ideas that people have just kept saying yes to. And so sometimes those dreams, those ideas cost money. And the way we can continue to run the program the way that it is, by making sure that kids get t-shirts, that we've got prizes for the winning team, that we get to have pretty incredible trophies for the kids to play for, that all of that covers the cost of running the program. Every penny that is spent on participating intramurals goes directly back into the program in some way, shape, or form. And so it's one of the things that I'm most passionate about, and I'm, again, so thankful to have had the opportunity to be a part in creating this program, and excited that that's one of those familiar faces for our grade fives. This is something that they've had in grade 5, and it's similar but different in junior high. We play different sports. Handball and dodgeball have been the two sports that we've been most successful with this year. A lot of the kids are hesitant at first. I don't know if I want to, because I don't even know what handball is. And I oftentimes tell them, just trust me. If you sign up, I promise you, you will have fun. And in every instance, that's exactly what's happened. We've spent time creating an accessible version of dodgeball, where it's not just you show up early in the morning, get hit, and then you sit out for the rest of the time, because that would be frustrating as a parent, to drop your kid off just to get hit by a ball 10 seconds to a game and then they're done. But we've created a points-based game where there's always 5 students on the court. They get hit, they go off, and then they come back on after somebody else gets hit. And it's just been a really cool platform and environment to watch these kids come alive. They're forming relationships with their peers that in other instances, maybe those connections wouldn't be built. And it levels the playing field. That's the other reason why I love choosing the sports that, I don't think we've got any handball players in grade 6 that are playing club handball out in Calgary. And so everybody is learning this sport for the first time. And so for the first little while, they're all kind of bad together. And that's the beauty of it. And they grow as a team, and they learn these new sports. So obviously you can hear that I'm quite passionate about this program. So I will stop and pass the back to
Hi. Okay, outdoor education. So one of the weird things that we do in our school is we go away to a little camp in the first little bit. I think it's September, October. Is there? There it is.
September 21st and to 22nd, something's wrong there.
It's always a challenge for me because I barely know the names by then. But it's a lot of fun, and it's interesting because I think human beings, we try to very quickly classify people. And parents and teachers do it as well, right? I remember in my old school, you could kind of scope your class at just how they lined up outside and how they came in, and and I think this actually breaks some of that and makes your impression of the kids and they of you more complex. I know one time a kid came up to me and said, I didn't think math teachers played volleyball. And like, they really do think you roll into a closet somewhere and you just pop out one day to teach math, and that's all you really care about. But it's not really true. I got a few other things going on. There are some official reasons of why we do this. An important element to our curriculum. The first science unit actually at the moment is trees and forests. So we kind of look at the trees by Savon, but it's not really the thing. So you can see more trees, you can get some more idea of what's going on in the wilderness, and it adds context to what we are doing. It's the kids every year when they reform into a new class, they're sort of rejigging their relationships and all those kind of things. So it allows them to do that. It's a real spiritual time, actually. When they get away from their normal, I think it gives us a chance to reboot and look at things in a different way. So Pastor Dave is there. Usually we get to sing a lot, to get us just speak in a different way, and I think it's a really good way to start off the year. There's two thoughts that you'd almost want to do it at the end of the year to celebrate, but we really thought that the benefits that come from doing it at the beginning set the tone for the rest of the year, and that's kind of the idea there. As you can see, there's some. We haven't had this in the last little while because of COVID, but there is some chance for parents to help out. If you want to help out, we will need some help at the camp. We do put you to work a little bit, but it gives you a chance to spy on your children. It can be fun. And then you get sort of, again, a deeper knowledge of what the school's about and some of the staff and the other kids and how they all interact. But again, I've kind of got resilience on the mind. It's a great thing because it's hard, but it's fun. It's hard, but it's fun. And that's a good thing for kids to go through, right? It's a hard thing to be away from home, but it's fun. At the end of the day, they come home and they're like, we had fun. And that's a good thing.
Thanks, Mr. Tennant. Let me just, the dates are September 21st, 22nd, 23rd, Wednesday to Friday, 2 nights, 3 days. And let me just interrupt here and draw your attention. We said we do retreats a lot. Every grade goes on retreats, and some grades go on multiple trips. So grade 6 is outdoor ed. Grade 7 goes on an overnight retreat, just an overnight retreat in September. And then they go on a ski trip. It might not be the traditional Fernie trip. We're having to make some changes, but they'll go likely on an overnight ski trip in January. Grade 8s, and that's all part of school fees. Your tuition covers that. Grade 8s go to Camp Homewood in the fall, and it's on Quadra Island. We go for a week, 4 nights and 4.5 days. And it's really pushing the comfort zone and taking our students out to see, for many of our students, incredible scenery, even the risk of riding a horse at outdoor ed camp or at Camp Homewood, or the risk of paddling a canoe with your best buddy in this inlet on the ocean can be daunting and terrifying and fun and exhilarating and a challenge that they can safely overcome. So that is in the fall of grade 8. And then they go on a ski trip in January. And then in the for grade 9s, traditionally, if COVID stops ruining everything, the grade 9s will go on a couple of nights overnight retreat, and then they go on a Mexico mission trip in February. For lots and lots of reasons we do this, and I won't get started into it, but it really is the culmination of what we're trying to do with body, mind, and soul, training up our students, experiencing Christ, and serving through love. It's an incredible experience. Our grade 9s this year, along with a few of last year's grade 10s, will manage to make the trip. We're doing it in June for these guys, and they're leaving June 28th. It's important for you to realize these trips exist. The mission trip and the Camp Homewood trip are fundraised or paid for outside of school fees. And so in grade 7, you're going to start to get your email inbox flooded with opportunities to raise money. That's why, for the cost of these trips. There's more information and estimated costs in the parent handbook. So pay attention to those things, because I know sometimes we get parents who are going, well, we could have fundraised for this. And I'm going, well, there were a lot of emails. The apples are really good. We recommend them. That's enough I'll say about it. But I want you to just, as you're coming into junior high, keep that on your radar.
Speaking of communication, it is an extremely important part of what we do in junior high. That communication looks different than you may be used to in elementary. And so there's three major forms of communication that we utilize in junior high. Also recognize that one of our ultimate goals is that we want our students to take ownership at responsibility in terms of knowing when things are due, where their assignments are posted, what due dates are coming up, what important events are coming up. But we also recognize that at the beginning of grade 6, they're not ready for that responsibility without being taught these skills. One of the things that we do right at the beginning of grade 6 health is we spend 3 to 4 weeks teaching them these different organizational skills, how to use their Google Drive properly, how to access their email, how to navigate PowerSchool, how to organize their binders and lockers and things like that. So we try to be as practical as possible, especially at the beginning of the year, to ensure that our grade 6 students feel equipped and ready to take on this big, scary giant that is junior high. One of the biggest forms of communication that we use and rely on, especially as teachers, is Schoology. That is going to be taking the place of Unified Classroom as of September. I know that that may sound like a daunting task to have to learn just another online platform for our school, but my understanding is Unified Classroom will cease to exist as of the end of this school year. And so we have done a lot of research at looking at what is the best option. I personally have started to play around with Schoology. Once you learn it, it is so much easier to navigate. It's very intuitive, and I truly believe that it is going to be an excellent resource for teachers, students, and families to interact with, to stay on top of things. We in junior high use Schoology much like some of the grade 5 teachers use Google Classroom, where we will post assignments in Schoology, and students will access those assignments through their laptops to complete that work. Other times, if they're doing an assignment on paper, we'll use Schoology to post the due date for that assignment, instructions for students who may be absent. And so Schoology is the go-to place for those academic pieces that we'll be teaching your students to learn how to use on their own, but you also have access as their parents to check in to see if there's important dates coming up, tests, quizzes, homework assignments, and things like that. They also, this may be new to you in grade 6, is they'll be able to kind of see their progress throughout the term as they hand work in to their teachers. It will be marked, and they'll be able to see how they did on those assignments throughout the year, to be able to kind of keep track of where they are in the term. And it's also kind of our one-stop shop for everything administrative to academics, attendance, grade books, and things like that. Mrs. Allen also sends out a weekly update email to each of the grade level parents. Please make sure that you don't just, send that to the trash, because I know that she spends a lot of time and effort to make sure that the important information specific to each grade group is in those weekly emails. And so please pay attention to those as they come at the end of each week. And then also, you guys are already well aware of the GCA communicator that comes out Friday afternoon. Those will be the best spot to find out, those big important events of, when the track and field meet is, when picture day is, and things like that. So those are our 3 main ways of communication. And I would just encourage you guys to communicate with us as teachers. This is a new adventure for you as well. And we aren't as scary as we look. We truly do care about your kids and want them to be successful. So please reach out to us if there's anything that we can do to make this transition smoother for you and for your kids. Next, we want to spend some time talking about technology. You may or may not know that in junior high, each student is required to have their own laptop to be able to use to complete different work and different tasks in the class. Now, they will tell you that they are allowed to use their laptops whenever they want. That is not true. We as teachers monitor and control their laptop use. We also try to make sure that we do a mixture of digital work and pencil to paper work. And because we recognize that, screens is becoming a predominant thing in our world. And so it's a helpful tool, but we also want to teach them responsibility, how to use them effectively. And so we do have some recommendations on some of those different laptops that have been tried, tested, and true. So the Chromebook, specifically the Dell model, those are reliable. Any MacBooks or not the Chromebook, but any Dell laptop has been proven to be helpful because most of our stuff is Google based. The Chromebook is a great option. They've got lots of different price points for those as well. The big things that you're looking at, though, a reliable battery, making sure that it's not just an iPad or just a tablet, but that there's actually a keyboard. The touch screens don't always work. I have seen some pretty beat up laptops in grade 6 and 7, and they still have 2 more years to work these things. So, trying to get something that's durable, making sure that if possible, you can get a protective case, because you would be shocked at the amount of laptops that hit the floor on a daily basis. And with that in mind, getting the warranty, it absolutely is worth it. So be keeping those things in mind as you start to think through the technology pieces of junior high. Finally, and this is something that we as teachers try to remind our students as well. A good habit to get into is to plug the laptop in before they go to bed, not in their rooms, but plug their laptops in a common space before they go to bed, so when they unplug it and come to school, it's fully charged. There's lots of different things they can do with screen brightness, battery saving options. I also encourage the kids to bring their chargers in their backpacks in case for some random reason it ends up the battery dies in the middle of the day. They can just plug it into the wall and still be able to access the information they need.
I'm going to do what Ross is doing. I'm going to stand up. Any of you guys ever go tobogganing with your kids? Like the real toboggans, though, with the little strips of wood across, which are great if you're sitting in between them, but not so great if you're sitting right on top of one and you hit a bump and months later you're still feeling it. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So that brings us to internet filters and protecting kids while online. And so as you guys know, kids are using technology at all kinds of different ages, but for some, this is their first time getting their own laptop or getting their own device. And so we just want to give you access to some resources that we have found to be helpful. We're sending out, I already did actually send out a copy of this PowerPoint presentation on PDF. The links should work from there still. So if in your email, or Mr. G actually sent it out. I sent it to him to send out. And so if you go through and you want to check out any of these links, we've just found this is really helpful. And the point on the left there is that filters are great and they're really helpful. Actually, they can protect and they can be a line of defense just in the online world in general. But what we're learning so much more is that relationship is so key, and just the willingness. I've talked to students before and said, hey, if you came across something online that you knew wasn't good, would you talk to your parents about it? And it's amazing. Some of them that just say, no, I know I would get in trouble. I say, really? Like if you were to, and it's just building in that, and lots of them will say, oh yeah, no, I would tell my parents for sure. It's just an accident. But oftentimes there can be this perception of, oh, I can't talk to mom and dad about something I accidentally saw because I'll get in trouble. And we're finding more and more building those relationships to have the conversations is what's actually going to help in the long run. As you can see, one of the articles is called Not If, But When. And it links to an article that talks about it's not if children are going to be exposed to things online, it's when, and how do we talk about this? It's just a reality of where we're at today. So definitely check those out. There's some great reviews of online filtering software and things like that. Some with a monthly cost, some that are free, I think, and then some costs maybe within. So feel free to check those out. At the very end, there's a link to just Brett Ullman's website, and so that's just a general link to his website. Can't stress enough how much we've been blessed by just his his perspectives and what he's brought. So if you're going, I don't know how to navigate this thing with my kids online and all this, great place to start right there, and just some helpful tools along the way. Okay, with that in mind, we talk about how this begins at home, and we want to work with you guys to ensure that students are learning how to be good digital citizens, and how to recognize dangers online, how to be aware of them, how to get out of those places that they shouldn't be in. And this is computers, this is cell phones, this is smartwatches, this is all of the ways, anything that connects to the internet, that connects to Wi-Fi, there's opportunities there to be a great tool or to be something that's difficult or harmful. And Mrs. Allen's going to talk about that a little bit more. What we do is we have monitoring software at the school. So as maybe you already know, this includes website visits, language used online. So even if students are emailing back and forth and bad language is used, our filters will flag that. And so it's a way of just helping us to hold students accountable to what we ask of them. And if a flag ever comes up, the flag usually comes my way, and then I'll check it out, and usually you're kind of figuring out the context of, okay, what's going on. Sometimes it's just, oh, I accidentally clicked on this thing and I didn't know what it was. Or sometimes it's, okay, I was playing a game in class and I shouldn't have been, and then there was an ad, and then I clicked the ad, and you, okay, well, let's talk about that. Why are you playing a game in class? And it is great for conversations, but I always pass that along home. Even if it's an honest mistake, I like to pass it along and just say, hey, you know what, have that conversation. Be open and talk about these things. If it's a mistake, I know your parents are going to understand and they'll get it. And so we just encourage open communication. I think there's another slide there. Yeah, so we're a smartphone-free zone from 8 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. So once students arrive here, if they bring their phones with them, we ask them to keep it in their locker throughout the day. And we encourage you guys, if you need to get in touch with them, I know it's so easy sometimes, even on a laptop, of, oh, there's Messenger on there, I'll just send them a text and they'll see it, and it's so quick and easy and perfect. We do ask that you use the office phones to communicate. It just helps avoid, a student getting up and going, oh yeah, my mom's picking me up. And we go, well, why? Like, what's going on? No one knows why you're leaving. And so it just helps us follow the proper channels of communication within the school. And at the end, this includes smartwatches. So we have asked that students leave Apple Watches, even the Fitbits, anything again that connects to the internet. Some of the Fitbits are fine if it's got the little screen and it's just counting steps and things like that. But I know some of the, like the Sense, the new Fitbit, that one's a smartwatch. Or there's another one right before that. I can't remember what it's called right now, but there's a few of them that are. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're like, oh, this will be a great gift. They can wear it every day. Well, not necessarily. So it's just too easy to be a distraction in the class.
So we already said that GCA, we try to be a cell phone free zone. This is it, where it's kind of this oxymoron. We're saying, please, we need your students to have a laptop because we use it as a learning tool. But I'm going to advocate for you that you wait to get your kids a smartphone as long as possible. I cannot advocate for this enough. The main thing, and I know it's so great to have that communication. I mean, even just here at school, when the kids are playing out on the playground and you're at the front door and it's like text, like, I'm at the front door, like, those are great things. So a dummy phone, just a simple phone, that's what people are talking about. The experts are talking about more and more. Right now, for students in middle school, get them a flip phone. Yeah, you can reach them, they can reach you, that's awesome. But the advent of the smartphone, if you read very many of the resources that are out there for parents and raising parents in this crazy world, or raising kids in this crazy world, they'll talk about the rise in anxiety. The stats on anxiety are off the charts. And I was just listening to a podcast on this. It began about the same time that the smartphone was introduced. And it's all about this social media and this constant contact and this constant comparison and this editing your perfect self, or your friends editing their perfect self. Like they can go on and talk about this forever. But it's real. It is real. The majority of the the majority of the bullying that we are dealing with at our school, and yes, bullying is alive and well at our school because we have real human beings at our school. And I don't say that to be callous, like, so we're never getting rid of it. It's just, we're always going to have bullying. And so we're always going to be working with our students in how to work through disagreements, how to work through mean behavior, and how to come to peace and resolution. But what's going on the phone, it's an invisible world, almost completely unsupervised. And they are living in this invisible world if they have complete access with their cell phones. It could be group chats. It might not be, your child might not have Snapchat. Your child might not have Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever the next thing will be. But just even the group chats, tons and tons of negative conversation going on because kids are counting on the fact that most parents aren't seeing it. And so we really advocate for parents to be very careful when that phone is first given. Be really careful about the amount of access that your kids have. When is the right time? I think that's a conversation between you and your children. But we really advocate to wait till grade 8, grade 9. A lot of times, the stats are out there. You're going to come across these stats really quickly. The happier kids are the kids who have been protected from social media. They're living in the real world in face-to-face interaction, out playing in the yard, out meeting their friends, hanging out, doing those healthy kinds of interactions. I know in COVID it was hard because we wanted our children to have that, like that was their chance to be socializing, was through the virtual world. But now's our opportunity to pull that back and figure out new ways to do it, old-fashioned ways to do it maybe, but healthy ways to do it. You know, the metaphor has been said that it's like we're giving our kids power tools, but they're kids, you know? Or imagine that we're giving our kids a big bag, like Costco-sized bag of sour gummies to go to bed with. Like, how unhealthy is that, right? So when the phones do come, we can't advocate enough. Have a bedtime for the devices, and that includes the laptops. Please do not let your kids take their devices, whatever they may be, the phones or the computers, into their rooms. Please have them doing their homework out at the kitchen table. Have a bedtime for all those devices. And what's the great thing is even modeling that. Brett Ullman talks about that a lot. Modeling it as a family. We all have a bedtime for our cell phones. They're going to go right here, and we're going to have face-to-face interaction, and we're going to talk, and we're going to work through and just have healthy communication. I can't advocate for that enough, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm really sorry, grade 5 students who are out here listening, if I've ruined your dreams for your Christmas present. But I think in the end, you might find that you're actually happier. And somewhere down the road, you're going to get that smartphone. Well, that brings us almost to a close. We're close to an hour running time here. One of the most important things, Mr. Kennedy.
Just going to ruin one more dream for those of you who love the wheelie backpacks. Yeah, these are an extreme hazard, let me tell you. No, but we do ask that kids get ones that can go on your back. Not the one, sorry, figure skaters, if you're out there and that's what you carry your skates in, you're going to bring that to school. It is, if you've ever walked through our hallways at any point, you would understand why. It's one thing to see the student coming, it's another thing to not see something trailing 5 feet behind them and to try to walk past and trip over it. And yeah, so we just try to keep it an injury-free zone in the hallways as well. So no wheels on the backpacks.
So we are going to be inviting the grade 5 students down to our hallway, have a little bit of time to see where the classrooms are, meet all the teachers. We're going to do it when the junior high students aren't around. It might be a little scary. So we're going to have that happening probably right at the end of June when the junior high students are in exams and out of the building. So that's still to be happening. We want you to leave tonight not with any kind of fear, but really excited for the things to come. We, like elementary, we are here to partner with you families. We love what we get to do and love partnering with you guys and love having you guys come into our junior high, and we love watching you grow up. So thank you. We are only an email away, and if you have any questions, make sure to reach out, and we will see you soon wandering our halls. So thank you and good night.
She's so good at freestyle.
Yeah.
I just